Welcome to the CBT Dive, a vodcast that goes into the lives of real people with real struggles. Each episode welcomes a new guest who wants to explore a challenging situation using the most common cognitive behavioral therapy tool, the thought record. Your host, Raheem Thawa, is a social worker and psychotherapist based in Toronto and well known for his work in LGBTQ communities. He's created the CBT Dive to demystify what therapy can look like and share intervention skills for wellness. We hope that each episode helps you along on your own journey for insight and self-compassion.
Today, I'd like to welcome my new guest. His name is Al. Al, how are you today?
I'm good. You?
I am good. So just a bit about Al. Al lives in Toronto, is a queer guy, loves animals, and recently, outside of his daytime job, decided to take up training to become a dog trainer, and also lives by the lake and used to be quite the party girl, and now, from what I understand, enjoys a lot of Netflix and pizza. Is that right?
Pretty accurate.
Accurate. Okay, great. I like Netflix and pizza too. Those are good life choices. Al, can you tell me a little bit about maybe your experience with therapy or anything you've heard about cognitive behavioral therapy?
So I've never done it myself. I know that it's a way of, I guess it's like you change your perspective about something, or you make it more realistic of a perspective about something, so that you're able to like work through it better.
Totally. Yes. So it's about shifting our perspectives. Absolutely. And is that something have you done something like that in therapy before while talking to a counselor?
Not specifically like that. No.
Okay, so I'm excited that this is going to be a new experience for you. And as we provide you through this experience, hopefully our listeners will also gain some insight into using this tool. So I'm just going to share my screen. And you can let me know if that shows up well for you. Can you see a screen with a thought record on it? All right, Lovely. All right. So Al, before this call, we talked about a situation that might bring up difficult feelings for you. We didn't go into a ton of depth around what the feelings might be, but the situation we identified was going to a party or a bar, specifically a gay men's space where you don't know many people. Is that still the situation you want to stick with? Something like that you think you'd want to analyze?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I want you to think back to a time where this was actually something you were going to do, or it might even be from the recent past, depending. I don't know what your life has looked like during the pandemic, but it's nice to be able to visualize in your mind the moment where this is a possibility, like it's about to happen, or you're on your way to a party. Mm-hmm. Now, let's imagine because we wrote down the word going, let's assume you've already made the plan and you're going later tonight, right? What feelings come up for you? Let's just list the feelings as they come up.
Anxiety.
Okay.
Excitement.
Yeah, great.
Fear.
Yes.
Overwhelmness.
Yeah. I'm just going to call it overwhelm. I don't know if that's a word, but we'll just go. Yeah, we'll just go with that. That's okay. So anxiety, excitement, fear, overwhelm. Maybe it's overwhelmed. Sure. Any other feelings?
No, I think that's probably it.
Okay, I'm going to list a couple others, and you tell me, even if they're there in a small, if you think it's there in some small, like capacity, we should maybe add it in. So, I wonder if you're feeling confident.
No.
Okay. Self-conscious.
Yes.
Okay. Uncertain.
Yes.
Okay, uncertain. And I'm thinking about other words that might help explain overwhelm, or that might be wrapped up in overwhelm. Do you feel any kind of sadness?
I don't know if that's a feeling. No,
Sorry.
I don't know if that's a feeling, but like inadequacy to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think inadequacy is a feeling. Inadequacy, oops, I'm having trouble spelling today. Inadequacy to me is almost like when we anticipate rejection or we feel like we've fallen short.
Yeah.
So is there a feeling of like failure or not being enough or rejection?
I think it's the fear of rejection. I think it's the uncertainty of whether I'm enough.
So when we talk about being enough, the feeling that comes up for me is worthy or worthiness.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a good list here: anxiety, excitement, fear, overwhelmed, self-conscious, uncertain, inadequacy, worthiness. Now what I'm going to ask is that we go through each feeling and you really think about this situation again. You're going to a party or a bar, specifically a gay men's space, where you don't know many people. Typically when you go, I imagine would you go alone or would you go with a friend?
With a friend.
Okay, so you're going with a friend, but you're going to a place where you don't know a lot of people. So how would you rate your anxiety on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being that your anxiety is pretty high and 1 being that it is quite low.
I think that it varies throughout the evening and how where I am, right? So I think that the build up to it, the anxiety is very high. I think that as the night progresses, there's still a level of anxiety, and that level of anxiety goes down. I think the level of anxiety probably starts at around, I don't know, let's say an 8 or like between 8 and 9.
Yeah. So let's clarify here the situation. It's before going.
Okay.
Right? Because it seems to me like it makes sense to me that it changes once you're there. And then when you talk to somebody or you leave. But I think if we're going to talk about, if we're going to contextualize when the anxiety happens, it would be important to know when we're talking about. So we're saying before you go to this party or bar. So your anxiety is at an 8, and then your excitement is
at a 5 or 6.
Okay, let's do 6, and then fear.
7.
7. Feeling overwhelmed.
8.
Self-conscious.
8 as well.
Okay. Uncertain.
6.
And inadequate.
6.
Okay. And here we have worthiness, but I think the feeling was
right.
Unworthiness or unworthy. So how would you rate unworthy or unworthiness?
Like a 6 as well.
6. Okay. All right. So when you're feeling anxious, maybe also excited, but fear, overwhelmed, self-conscious, and this is before going to the party, what are some things you do? What do you find yourself doing? So, for example, do you think about canceling? Do you do push-ups? I don't know. Whatever it is for you.
I think that there's definitely I think that working out is one.
Yeah.
Drinking is another.
So you'll start drinking earlier?
Right. Yes.
So I'm guessing usually you intend to drink at the party anyway. And so what you're talking about here is starting a bit earlier. And if this is Like with the friend that you're going to go with, or even before your friend arrives?
With the friend that I'm going to go with. And I think that, yeah, it's an attempt to like reduce maybe some of those other feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Anything else you do? So workouts, start drinking a bit earlier with friend.
Spend quite a bit of time on trying to figure out what to wear.
Yes. Spend time figuring out what to wear. Now, I'm a gay man too, so I'm just going to guess that you end up wearing a t-shirt. Am I right?
I mean, it's either a t-shirt or a tank top. There's really like, it's one of those two, just different colors.
Yes. Okay, great. I'm glad your time is well spent. All right. So now we're moving on to the next column, which is about automatic thoughts. These are the thoughts that usually come up when we're thinking about a situation that brings up difficult feelings, but they're not just automatic thoughts that are positive. They tend to be negative or somewhat unhelpful. So when you feel anxious before going to the party, what are you thinking about? Or you're anxious because you think, what will happen?
I think that I'm anxious about what others are going to think.
Okay. So others will judge me? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to put it. So when you say things as a question, I might just try to shift it over to a statement. Okay. Yeah. So bear with me. So others will judge me. And what might they judge you for? What might they say? You are
not fit enough. That maybe I was fit to a certain extent and maybe I had lost some of that fitness. So it's like, oh, he's like changed or lost something.
Right.
So a lot of, yes. So, a lot
sorry,
of like
when your body's changed, is it usually like your body has lost, are you thinking about it's gained weight or you've lost muscle mass?
Lost muscle mass.
Okay. Yeah. And when you think about the excitement, tell me a bit about that. What are the thoughts connected to your excitement?
I think the thoughts connected to the excitement are tied to the friends that I'm going with and experiencing something with those friends.
Okay. So like I'm going to have a nice time or I'm going to meet somebody new. Are those the kinds of things you're thinking?
I think it's more along the lines of, I think that I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to experience something with these friends that I'm going with. That potentially I might meet someone there that you might click with.
So there could be relationship potential.
Right.
I mean, when you say someone you click with, that's where my mind goes. So relationship, dating, or even, it could even be casual sex potential. I don't know, but you're thinking about the possibility of meeting somebody new. So I'm actually going to move the things about excitement to the top. And then I do want to ask a bit more about some of the more challenging feelings. So when you think about the anxiety, it's others will judge me. Maybe I'm not fit enough. And my body has lost some muscle mass. So if somebody looks at you and they say, hey, Al has his body's changed. He looks different. He used to have broad shoulders and now he doesn't. What does that say about you? What does it mean if that's true or if that's happened?
I think that a lot of times I've tied it to my self-worth. So I've valued myself less because of that. So if there's a loss of muscle mass, then there's a loss of value in myself.
Okay. So my value, I'm going to say value and currency has decreased. Now I use the word currency because you're talking about how your value in yourself has shifted, right? But when you talk about other people judging you and them thinking about your worthiness, I think it's a bit more about value, but also currency, like how well you fit in, right? And how well how much they look to you with admiration or awe or something like that.
Right.
So when your body is, where you want it to be, how do people see you? I'm going to make some additional notes here. So when your body is how you want it to be, I'm guessing you've got a certain level of muscle mass. How do you see yourself and how do other people see you?
I feel like there's more admiration. There's more attention. There's less effort paid by me to get an attention of somebody.
So people admire me. I'll get attention easily. What else?
I feel more confident. I feel like more at ease.
And you're at ease because?
Because I don't feel like I'm to be judged or I'm an easy target to be judged.
Okay. So I'm at ease because I'm less of a target.
Yes.
Now that's interesting. Is there anything else that you think when people look at you and you have it's really interesting. We're talking about how people see you, but also how you see yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So when you feel good about your body and you're talking about it looking a particular way in terms of muscle mass, what do people think about the energy you put into looking that way? Are there some things they think like you're dedicated or something like that, or you're driven, you're successful?
Yeah. I think that definitely. I think I've got that. Like people will perceive it as in like you're someone who's like more successful or pays attention more to himself, cares for himself, cares for their body.
Yeah. I care about myself and my body. Okay. So what I did was, because I realized we're going into body image, it's really hard to say how others will judge you when you don't look your best or you don't look the way that you think you're supposed to. So when you do look the way you're supposed to, or you think you're supposed to, you say, people admire me. I'll get attention easily. I'm at ease because I'm less of a target. I'm seen as successful. I care about myself and my body. So I'm going to say, people see that I care about myself and my body. So now if we were to turn these into judgments, right? For when your body doesn't look the way you want it to, or it doesn't have the same muscle mass that it always has, for example, we're actually shifting these to saying people don't admire me. I won't get attention easily. I'm not at ease because I might be a target. I'm seen as less successful. And the other one was people see that I care about my body and myself. People think that I don't care about myself or my body.
Right.
Oh, okay. So when you say people judge you, it's a long list of things, right? And so what I've done is underneath just this idea, this thought that you have, this automatic thought, others will judge me. There are so many other smaller thoughts, right? So if your value or currency has decreased and you don't get attention easily, what's the consequence of that?
I will fade into the background. I will not meet a partner or a potential, whatever it is, right? It's the other person, whether it's a hookup or it's an actual like potential dating partner.
Yes.
There will be less interest. People will be less attracted.
Yeah. So there's like this concern or fear about like being overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'll fade into the background. So I'm just going to write that in. I bet I'll be overlooked and I won't meet people, whether hookup or dating a partner. And then what happens? So if you don't meet somebody, what does that say about you? You're going to go home that night thinking, what about yourself?
I am not as worthy. I am not as attractive. They're
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Now, you'll notice that there's some like overarching thoughts that I put down, right? So when it was excitement, it's I'm going to have a good time and I'll have a good experience. There could even be a relationship or dating potential. And then we look at this thought that others will judge me. And that seems to be the biggest thing that you're concerned about. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when we break that down, we think about the specific ways they'll judge you. And then we're looking at consequences for what it means for your life or yourself if that judgment happens. So I want you to look at all of the statements that have a little arrow beside them. Okay. And I'll read them through one more time. And what I want you to do is think about which one of these is a thought that you think is very central in the difficult emotions you have. So something that you think is really driving the anxiety, the self-consciousness, the inadequacy, the sense of overwhelm. Okay. So which one is the salient thought, the most central? Which thought is driving the most difficult feelings? I'm not fit enough. My body has lost some muscle mass. My value and my currency has decreased. People don't admire me. I won't get attention easily. I'm not at ease because I might be a target. I'm seen as less successful. People think that I don't care about myself or my body. I'll fade into the background. I'll be overlooked. I won't meet people, whether hookup or dating or a dating partner. I'm not worthy or attractive.
I think it's probably I'll fade into the background. I'll be overlooked.
Okay. So I'll fade into the background. I'll be overlooked. All right. Let's take a pause here. Take a deep breath with me. Deep in. This column has required you to be quite vulnerable. So I just wanted to take a pause there and acknowledge the hard work you've done and just ask you, how are you feeling this far into the process?
Good. I think a little bit anxious, but good.
Yeah. Is the anxiety about where this is going, or did you uncover something you didn't expect?
No, I think it's the experiencing of it, right? It's the experiencing of those emotions and the reflecting back on those emotions, kind of like those feelings to a certain extent.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that's part of the power of the exercises. It really takes you into a moment and helps you distill some of these thoughts to say like, hey, what's at the core of this? So what we're going to do next is we're going to try to evaluate this thought that I've put in bold. Now that's called the hot thought. The hot thought is the central thought, the most salient one, the one that's driving the most difficult emotions. So I'll fade into the background and I'll be overlooked. Can you share some experiences or some evidence from your life where that has happened, where you have felt like you faded into the background and were overlooked? Or where you've seen other people fade into the background or they've been overlooked?
Mm-hmm. I think that I've been at times at bars or clubs or places like that where I was potentially in like a group and I felt like, sorry, can you give me 1 second?
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, my dog's toy was stuck under the couch and she was getting all frustrated.
I mean, that is a stressful situation. I think your dog could do with a thought record. All right. So you were telling me you've been to bars where you're in a group and?
Yeah, so I'm in a group. I maybe see someone that I'm potentially interested in, and then I notice that they are strictly interested in someone who is like bigger than me or fitter than me, or in that moment, I experience feelings of not being worthy enough and not being not and feeling of like I'm more fading into the background than I am.
Yes. So yeah, absolutely. So this thought that you have that you'll fade into the background is very real, right? It's rooted in this experience you've had before where you've specifically been overlooked. You're like, hey, I'm looking at that person. They're looking at me for a moment. And then they see my friend and my friend, whatever, he's got a Big Mac for muscles and like it's done. Okay. So any other evidence from your life where that justifies this fear or concern or anxiety about being overlooked or fading into the background?
Yeah, I had a group of friends, I guess, that I hung out with at some point that maybe had a lot of like spent a lot of attention on body image and making sure they look a certain way. And
they talked about it a lot?
And they talked about it, and I've had comments in the past where, like, let's say, for example, I got a little bit smaller or lost a little bit of like muscle mass or whatever, and I would get the comment of like, oh, well, it looks like you need to like go back to the gym, or you need to like do better, or yeah.
Oh, okay. That's kind of awful, isn't it?
Terrible.
Yeah, like I mean, it's interesting. Like I think our bodies are like they change. That's just what they do. And so if it can get to a particular place once, that's like nice. But to think that it could always be like that it's a bit of a tough standard, huh?
Yeah.
Now, when your friends mention this, like, I'm just curious about the tone of it. Like, was it in a joking way? Was it in a pseudo like concern, or was it just like, I'm your friend, I'm telling you as a friend? Like, what was there? What do you think the tone was?
The tone was jokingly, but there's definitely like truth behind it of what the thought is, right?
So you're thinking if they thought that, other guys are going to think that.
Yes.
Okay. And that's when it really was solidified for you. Like, it means something in this community to, yes. Okay. So, I'm going to put that as a separate piece of evidence, right? Like, I've seen from many sources that, the way bodies look, are important for gay men in particular. Okay. Are there any experiences where, now this might be a bit tougher, but it might support this thought that you'll fade into the background. Have you been one of those people who has overlooked somebody, or, you've seen them fade into the background for you because of how they looked?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's definitely like, yeah, I think that if I do it, then I know that others do it, and yeah, it solidifies it more.
Yeah. And look, when I say that, I'm not like calling you out. I'm merely thinking like, that's part of how we get our knowledge, right? But like, hey, I do this thing, so other people might as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. So here is the evidence that supports the thought that I'll fade into the background and I'll be overlooked. So I've been to bars in a group, but notice someone I'm into overlooks me and pays attention to someone bigger than me. I've had friends who spent a lot of time focused on their bodies, and they commented on my body when I lost muscle mass. And I've seen from many sources that the way bodies the way bodies look are important for gay men. And finally, I've been the person doing the overlooking too. So now let's think about some evidence that doesn't support this hot thought. So what we're specifically looking for is something that supports the idea that you won't fade into the background and won't be overlooked, regardless of what your body looks like.
I think that one of them that comes to mind, I guess, is like the guy that I'm dating right now, let's say, where like he's into fitness, but he's not like, there's no like, oh, you need to be at this level. It's like, your body's your body. I like it for who you are. If your body changes, it changes. And I think that is one. Yeah.
So I'm going to say, tell me if this is right, because I'm putting it in my own words. So the guy I'm dating right now is into fitness, but isn't rigid and doesn't put expectations on me.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Doesn't associate like my worth or his worth with body image.
Worth with body. Okay, lovely. That's a great example. And that's like good evidence. And it's also somebody that's I'm imagining a bit consistent in your life, right? Who's able to remind you of that your worth isn't necessarily connected to what your body looks like. Is there other evidence from your life that's does not support the idea that you'll fade into the background or be overlooked depending on your body?
I think circles of friends is another where
what have your friends told you?
I don't feel like my friends associate my worth or my value with the way that I look. I think that like
what do they value?
Like my sense of humor, my ability to connect with them, my ability to be there for them. I think that, yeah.
Okay. And so circles of friends, they like my humor, social skills, reliability. And what do your friends think about how you look?
I think that like my friends think that I look fit. I think my friends make fun of like, oh, like, do you want to have bigger arms, or like, do you want to have this, or do you want to have that? But they don't. Yeah, there's no like equating it to anything else.
I see. So they actually make fun of the goal of bigger muscles. Okay, so circles of friends, they like my humor, social skills, reliability. They think I look fit and actually make fun of the goal of bigger muscles. They don't get it, I guess. Is there any other evidence that does not support the hot thought, does not support the idea that you will fade into the background and you'll be overlooked depending on how your body looks?
I think outside of the gay community, yes. I think that.
Tell me about that.
When I'm outside of the gay community, when I'm in straight bars, or I'm with straight friends, or I'm with work colleagues, or anything outside of that, there's no worth on body image that I feel at all, because I don't feel like I'm being judged. I don't feel like.
What are people evaluating you on outside of that community?
I think that there's more value placed on ability to connect. I think that there's a value placed on success when it comes to like professional life. I think that, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I think that there's, I think that those are the main two. Sure. I think that, yeah.
Okay, that's good. So, okay, now I'm going to return to the original situation, going to a party or bar, specifically a gay men's space where I don't know many people. And I clarify that this is before you actually go, right? You've got anxiety, excitement, fear, feeling overwhelmed, self-conscious, uncertain, inadequate, and unworthy. You're biggest concern is that I'll fade into the background, I'll be overlooked. And now you've come up with evidence that supports the idea that you could fade into the background and be overlooked, and also you might not, right? So I'm curious to know if you can, I'd like to see if we can come up with an alternative thought for I'll fade into the background and I'll be overlooked. What's something else you can tell yourself that might be a bit more helpful or a bit more balanced?
I'm out to enjoy my time. My body's healthy. I'm lucky to have a healthy body and friends around to enjoy this moment with.
So I think I might have wrote it down slightly differently than you said, but my body is great. I'm lucky to be healthy. Slightly different words, but is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And the other part was something about your friends.
Yeah, and like lucky to have friends in my life who I could enjoy this moment with, and maybe make that the focal point of the experience.
Yeah. Because so much of this has been about body, I wonder if, like, you mentioned this a couple of times, people appreciate your ability to connect and like your humor and social skills. I wonder if prospective dates or guys who are into you will see that when you interact with your friends. Is that possible or not really?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some guys might appreciate my other qualities while I'm interacting with my own friends. Now that's something that might be more easily accomplished, at a house party versus a bar, I'm just thinking about the dynamics. So
yeah.
What's something you might tell yourself if you were at a bar and, you are overlooked? Like, I kind of think like there'll always be somebody who's got, I don't know, a bigger arm or a bigger butt or a broader chest, like, potentially.
Yeah, I think that, I think that the thought is that, like, people have different types and you're not necessarily everyone's type. I think is what it comes down to.
And not necessarily.
It doesn't say anything about myself if that person is just not attracted to me.
Exactly. If that person isn't attracted to me. So let's get one more in here. I'm really thinking about, I'm thinking about the reality, of being overlooked and the thing you miss out on, right? Like, how do you coach yourself when you're like, I know from my experience that being more visible in terms of muscle mass, it pulls people's desire and it pulls their eye in. It's just something that I've seen happen. So is there something you want to tell yourself about that? Like,
I think it's the what are you getting? What am I getting out of it? I think is the thing, right? Like, even if, yes, you're right. I think that I've experienced the two sides of it in the sense of being the guy who's more muscular, the guy who gets a lot of attention, but also experiencing maybe not getting as much attention and being overlooked and experiencing that at different times. But I think that just like in the times when I did experience getting more attention, it didn't add more to my life.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I've experienced both getting attention and not getting more didn't add more value to my life.
Mhm.
Now, I'm curious about this. Did it add something to your life? Like, did it add more, I don't know, phone numbers, more Instagram followers, more opportunities for sex? Like, I imagine it offers something.
It offers all these things, yes. Yeah, it offers all these things. I think that there are things that I guess I'm thinking about as in they're not things that have like a longevity. They're not things that have like deeper value.
Okay, so I'm just going to shift it a bit to say getting more didn't add long-term value to my life, right? Because I think I don't want to gaslight you and say, hey, yeah, don't worry about your body. That attention you get is fleeting and worth nothing. It's worth something. It's just, I like that you're saying that it's not going to add long-term value.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a slew of alternative thoughts here. I'm going to read them all out, and I want you to think of which one you like the best, which one you believe in the most, and which one resonates with you the most. So you're just going to pick one that you think would be a good alternative. So I'm going out to enjoy myself. My body is great. I'm lucky to be healthy and have friends in my life and enjoy this moment. To enjoy this moment. Sorry, screwed up. Some guys might appreciate my other qualities while I'm interacting with my own friends. I'm not necessarily everyone's type. It says nothing about myself if that person isn't attracted to me. I've experienced both getting attention and not getting more didn't add long-term value to my life. Which one of these is most helpful for you, or do you believe in the most?
It's probably one of the last two. It's either I'm not necessarily everyone's type. It says nothing about myself that person isn't attracted to me, or the last one. And I think
I was going to say, when you think about each one, if you had to say how much you believe each thought, like, sometimes people don't believe these thoughts. Like they'll have positive affirmations like, I am beautiful. And then you say, do you believe that? And they'll say, not really. Right. So I'm thinking about, don't get me wrong. Of course you are beautiful. But in this context, I'm trying to figure out which thought do you believe in most? I'm not necessarily everyone's type. And it says nothing about myself if that person isn't attracted to me. Like, I do wonder if part of you does take it a bit personally if you're not somebody's type, and maybe you believe the second one more, but I'm not sure.
No, 100%. I think that I believe the second one more. I think that I understand the one before from a logical standpoint, but from an experiential standpoint, it's not as much.
Totally. Yeah. I'm glad we made that distinction because I'm not necessarily everyone's type is factual. And then the next part where it says nothing about myself that a person isn't attracted to me. To me, that's like a really nice affirmation, but I don't think we always believe that. So the alternative thought we're going with is I've experienced both getting attention and not getting more didn't add long-term value to my life. And I wonder if we could add to this, like from your experience of going to parties, do you always get some attention? Do you always get some connection?
Yes, I get some attention.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's also about like, who do you get the attention from? Because I think when we experience, when the same way that others, I think, have placed value on body image, I have placed value on body image. So to a certain extent, it's like, who do you get the attention from?
Yes.
Changes that as well.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. So, okay, just to reiterate our alternative thought, I've made it even longer. I've experienced both getting attention and not getting more didn't add long-term value to my life. I'll always get at least some attention at a party. Right, I think that's nice to remind ourselves. Okay, yeah. I'm going to relist the feelings that we initially had come up with, and I'm going to ask you to meditate for a moment or think about the alternative thought. Like, just sit with it, read it to yourself a couple of times, and then tell me, when you think about the alternative thought, where is your anxiety at? How would you rate it when you think of the alternative thought before going to a party?
I would say it's a 4.
Okay. And how about your excitement?
6.
Beautiful. And fear?
4.
Okay. Overwhelmed?
3.
Self-conscious?
3.
Uncertain?
4.
Mm-hmm. Inadequate?
4.
Okay. And unworthy?
3.
All right. Take another deep breath. Are there any other feelings that come up for you when you think about this alternative thought? Sometimes when the intensity of other feelings go down, new feelings emerge.
So how do I feel about what are other feelings that I would now feel in that situation, that exact situation?
Exactly. I'm just curious if new feelings have emerged. Sometimes they don't, but I wonder if new feelings do emerge, like optimism, sadness, I don't know, something else that comes up.
Optimism is one.
Okay.
I guess it's more excitement.
Okay.
I guess I put the excitement at 6, but now that I'm like thinking about it, the excitement's actually like more than that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what is the excitement actually at?
Probably like an 8.
Okay, great. So so your anxiety went down by half, your excitement went up a bit, fear went down, overwhelm and self-conscious went down by more than half. Uncertain, inadequacy, unworthy all went down by a couple of points. So that's really good. And we're saying optimism came to the fore. I'm also wondering if, now I'm leading you a bit because you're not naming this feeling, but I kind of alluded to it when I said sadness. I wonder if there's a kind of sadness or grief. I wonder that because, because your body might change and you're recognizing that there's a chance that you could get overlooked and that you'll get some attention at the party. It may or may not be the exact attention you want. I wonder if there's some grief or loss around what your body used to be or this ideal body. But you could also say no, because I'm totally leading you into a direction that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's the change in perspective that makes me not feel like there's a lot.
Okay.
Or that there's grief behind it.
Okay. And so tell me about that change in perspective. If we were to add some feeling words to that, would it be like determined, confident, resolved, relieved?
Grounded. Confident.
Okay.
Clear-headed.
Yes.
Aware, more self-aware, I guess.
I love that. Isn't that a nice shift from self-conscious to self-aware? I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good list. Now, we've completed the thought record, right? You started with a situation that brings up some difficult feelings. We identified your hot thought. We came up with an alternative thought. The intensity of a lot of your feelings went down. How do you feel about having done this exercise? Any reflections on it or anything you want to share about what your experience was like?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because I think that there's an actual experiencing of the feeling and a change in the experience of the feeling as it goes on. So the beginning of it, when I was talking about anxiety, excitement, fear, there's an actual experiencing of those feelings in the moment.
Mm-hmm,
and I think that as we developed and changed perspective, there was an actual experiencing of the feelings. So it's not just reflecting of it on it as if it was happening in the past, but it's actually like experiencing it while like reliving
now. Yeah, that's kind of lovely to be able to see, like you were able to embody the feelings of the situation and see the intensity decrease. And I remember when we did the automatic thoughts column, you had mentioned that you felt a bit anxious. And where's that anxiety at now?
It's there. It's much less.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a tough topic to talk about, and for that reason, I think that the anxiety is still there. But the anxiety is not at where it was before that.
Yeah. It is a tough topic to talk about, but I have to say, I super appreciate you joining me on this podcast to talk about this particular topic, because I think there's so many gay men out there who are going to benefit. So I just really want to thank you for your time, and hopefully, I'll call you back sometime and we can work on another topic. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, this was great.
You're great. All right. Thank you for joining us. I'm great. You're great. And we'll end it there. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the CBT Dive. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the.politicized.practitioner. You can also listen on the go, wherever you get your podcasts. To follow Rahim on social media, check out ladyativan.com. See you soon.